like I'm neglecting myself at what expense? And it's the expense of everybody around you. At the expense of my kids, at the expense of my marriage, at the expense of my friendships and my family and my people that work for me.
I can directly correlate the rest of my life with like my spiritual conditioning, my mental conditioning, my physical conditioning.
I don't think it's about work-life balance. I think it's about your personal balance. If I'm not at my best, how can I expect more from them?
Live, and thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you having me, Corey.
Let's give a little context to who you are and what you do before we hop in. If you want to talk a little bit about what you're doing nowadays, what your business is, all that kind of stuff.
Right. So my name's Ivan Katz. I founded Great Lakes Landscape Design in 1989, straight out of college. Didn't have a job, didn't know what I wanted to do, went and traveled through Western Europe for 3 months and came back and was like, oh, what am I going to do? And I was always entrepreneurial. So at the time I was working for a woman doing annual flower plantings, and I just decided that I was going to go start there. So that's kind of how I got started. That was in '89.
I think I talked to your old partner at the event you had. He was pretty fun. He's like, yeah, we were like flying. We had my car. We were like driving around.
It might have been my brother.
Was it your brother? Okay.
Yeah, it would have been my brother. So I did have a partner when I originally started, but bought him out along the way in the early 2000s.
He told me you guys were getting like paid per bed or something like that.
Right.
So
that was per flat.
Per flat. You're just going as fast as you could, just banging out flats.
Right. So that's how I met the woman.
Okay.
Literally how I got into this business was I was a bartender at a place called Romanix, and this woman and her husband came in to eat and drink at the bar and play backgammon. And so I fed them, I liquored them up, and then we would have conversations. And she said, hey, you want to make some extra money? And I said, sure. She goes, I'm serious. I said, so am I. Where, when, and how much are you going to pay me? It's during the day. Perfect. I'll skip school. I was in college. I just want to hustle and make money. So I went out, worked the day. She's like, we pay by the flat, $4 a flat. How many are people planning? She's like, anywhere from 3 to 5. And I'm like, oh, okay. So at the time, this was back in '86. So that was decent back then. So my friends and I went out. We figured out really quickly a system by happen chance, because my friends were chucking flowers at me, like beaning me with my, in the head and wherever they could hit me. And instead of reacting, I just was planting the flowers as fast as they could throw them at me. And then we were like, oh, so by the end of the day, we figured out that we could plant cumulatively as a group 40 flats almost an hour.
Nice.
And
that's like big. That's what, $160.
Right. So we were splitting that, and we were working as a group. And so that's how I got started in this business. It was just purely like entrepreneurial, and I've always had a job. I've always hustled. Everything is earned on a daily basis, right?
You said you were always entrepreneurial. So what does that mean when you were like a kid? Like, were you working?
So
selling
it's great.
Stuff?
So this is fresh because I'm doing we're hosting a conference, national conference here in August, and one of my keynote speeches is going to be on business development for residential properties. And it's like, where did that come from? Where did I learn all this? And I started thinking back, well, the first thing I ever did was a paper route. And it was in my neighborhood. And so let's say it started off with 25 customers, I built it to 50. And how did I do that? How did I figure that out? And it was like, back then you could get a pair of like Converse All-Stars. My dad would buy them let's say they were $5, but the Puma Clydes were $30. My dad's like, I'll give you the 5. You got to pay the 25 beta. So for me, it was like, okay, I'd go out and I'd work to get that difference. So it was, and how am I going to get that? Does somebody need their car washed? Does somebody need their lawn cut? The funny thing is I always hated cutting lawns, and that was really never one of the side hustles that I had. But detailing cars, pruning shrubs for people in their backyard, pulling weeds, taking out trash if they had a big trash day, whatever it was that I could do to kind of have that discretionary income to go run up to 7-Eleven to have a Slurpee or a candy bar, right? Whatever it took. It was always that feeling and the satisfaction that I got from getting the money and being able to do whatever I want on my dime, on my time.
Yeah, and all you have to do is be useful, right?
Yeah, so it started there. Like, so developing this speech, like, what is it about customer service? And over this time span of, 50 some odd years, like, everything that I've done has always been like focused on delivering the best experience. When you go back and you look and like, oh, okay, I've really honed this and kind of did it. So I turned the paper out into a much larger entity. And then, then you had to go collect. And then how did you get bigger tips? Well, I would wait till the greatest snowstorm and I would go out and put on my snowsuit, my snow boots, and my mom was like, where are you going? And I'm like, well, everyone's home. Nobody's out. There's 12 inches of snow out there, so everyone's going to be home. I'll get free hot chocolate, and I'll get bigger tips because people will be like, yeah. And it worked. So, like, that's kind of where it all started, and then always having a job because if I wanted to do things, I needed to have the discretionary income of my own.
Where do you think you learned that? Like, were your parents working class, or like, what did they?
Yeah, my dad he worked in the optical industry for his entire life, and he never made more than $35,000 a year probably in his entire life. Worked for somebody, but he always said to me, like, take your risks when you can. Like, he encouraged me in ways, and with things that he didn't do, he was afraid to take a risk. He had an opportunity to own a store, he was afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't make excuses. Go for it and see what you can do. Like, don't limit yourself on everything. So I think that's where it started. Things like that, and then the bike that I had, I would pull it apart and then put it back together with no extra parts, right? So just always being curious, trying to figure out how things worked, how to get ahead, how to move the needle forward. I'm like, I had a great childhood. I always, I had plenty. If you, it's that concept of somebody always has less. I am grateful for everything that I got. The gifts that I got from my parents were hustle, hard work, honesty, integrity. My mom went back to school in her 30s, late 30s, and went back and got a master's degree. So just seeing that, it's never, you can always do more. That incremental improvement, that people talk about, it's real. So that's where it came from.
That's cool, man. Yeah. We have a lot more in common. I know we had a lot in
Right.
common already, but like the more you talk, it's like, man, we got a lot of shit in common.
Yeah, well, when you can dive into a conversation with somebody that quickly like we did, it's real.
Yeah. So you're hustling, you're whipping flowers at the sides of people's heads. You're figuring out how to make $160 an hour in 1986. So how do you? And I went to your shop. It's impressive, man. Like
Thanks.
you guys got a real operation going on. So how'd you get from there to there? Like has this been like a slow progression over time? Like how have you grown the business?
So 37 years in business. My famous thing I love to say is I'm an overnight success in 37 years. So it's constantly evolving. But the number one reason is people. It's not me. I'm not saying I'm not responsible. I'm saying the people that I bring in and how I treat the people that are here and the opportunities that I give them will allow for us to reach where we're at right now. So the biggest progression, we grew over time, and I've been through a lot of iterations. I told you before, if I had to title the book, it would be What Could Go Wrong. I've been in trouble with the IRS. I've been near bankruptcy multiple times. I went through an embezzlement. I trusted the wrong person, didn't have the right controls in place, but no excuses. It's like I have to own my 100% of every situation that goes on. And so in 2021 to 2024, we almost tripled size in revenue and headcount. and increase profitability to a more manageable level, meaning where we know, even if we don't hit great numbers, that we know why.
What was that punch through? Like, why did you guys
People.
people?
It's people. It's
Which is
always
funny 'cause
people,
you-
systems, processes.
You talk to a lot. I talk like the landscape companies that I have a couple friends who own companies, and I talk to people in landscape companies, and the common theme is like people seem to be the biggest issue for those businesses. At least what I find. Like it's hard. Like the biggest complaint always is like can't find the right people. Can't find the right people. They don't show up to the job. They quit. So with you, it's like your sauce is like
Right.
the people, which is interesting.
Well, but how do you frame it, right? If the biggest issue is people, that's the story in your head. Like literally, I could framework it that way.
Sure.
We're in the midst of replacing an HR person. So I could say our biggest issue is I haven't found the right HR person. Or I could say we're in a period where we're without one, which then has caused an increased burden on the rest of the staff. So how do you treat that? So is the issue that we don't have the person, or is it the opportunity to find the next person that can step in and do a better job? Like it's all mindset, framework, and you can choose whatever you want, and you can go down the rabbit hole of is it easy? No, it's constant. Like recruiting people, finding the right people, keeping people aligned, making sure that they have the right opportunity, that they have all the tools that they need to do it. It's constant, and it isn't easy, right? It's a daily kind of a struggle. And as an owner and an entrepreneur, I have a different mindset than the people that work for me. You got to remember, I'm unemployable at this point. Like I've
I
been on my own
shit,
for 37 years. Yeah. Like if I had to go work for someone, like I don't know that I could do it. We work in an at-will state. So I mean, every single one of my employees has been approached. I mean, I get offers. I'm like, I own the company. Why would you offer me a job? But the reality is, and we're in a market today where if you don't take care of your people, somebody else will. And so how do you make sure you create this environment where people are able to grow? Because they will get you where you want to go.
What is one like tangible thing you can share that you feel comfortable sharing that you do to take care of your people? Like one thing you could share with an entrepreneur who's struggling with that.
I think it's feedback. So like if you go back, we started using EOS, which is a system.
We did too.
Right?
Yeah.
In 2016. And giving people the venue to say, here's what we want, but also having the conversation of, okay, how are we going to pay for that? Because from their perspective is we don't have this. And from my perspective, it's how am I going to pay for that? But if we all bring our head trash to the table, we can then figure out how do we get there. So in 2016, we had nothing. Let's just say we had massive turnover. It was if you could fog a mirror, you could come for work for us. And that just isn't anymore. Like now it's not that we have all those benefits that say why would somebody go work for someone else when they can get all this? Because you still every day. We lost someone this morning. Like now why? Like what was it? There's a reason. What's our 100% of the 50%? Because it's a contract, right? My viewpoint and my employee's viewpoint or the team's, what he thinks. So what is our 100%? What could we have done differently? That's where the improvement comes. So giving people that system and the venues, where we allow people to give feedback and then we listen to it. And then the most tangible way to deal with that is once you start to get the feedback, if there's low-hanging fruit, like why do we have to ask for ear protection? So we put up one of those dispensers with the ear protection. They don't have to ask anymore. And if safety is our core value, why are we making them ask for it? They should have access to it and readily available.
What are your guys' core values?
So extraordinary customer service is the first one. There doesn't have to be in any specific order, but safety. And that's something that we're trying to work on and be more mindful of because you can send mixed messages, right? We're saying be safe, but we didn't issue safety gear to our salespeople.
Right.
So they're showing up on the job sites. The expectation is that our production staff wears it, but what about the salespeople that are there? So it's a mixed message you send. And again, that's why I told you the name of my book would be What Could Go Wrong, because I'm an open book. We're not perfect. It's like the constant pursuit of perfection. But it's progress. We're just pursuing progress because perfection is unobtainable.
Yeah, and as long as your team, because you're the leader of the company, right? Like you're very involved. So like as long as your team sees that you're identifying issues and then you're saying, hey, here's a timeline and when we're going to correct this issue, and then you're making your promise of doing what you said you're going to do, it doesn't need to be perfect.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
They just want to see progress. They just want to see that, hey, this guy's leading from the front.
Right.
And he's doing what he says he's going to do.
Right,
So,
because if they want 8 new, mini compact loaders, that's $500,000. The earbuds were $100, let's just say. So, we have to have a different conversation. So it's going to take us. We're going to start with 3, and then we're going to work our way up to 8, and that's what we did. And like literally, so people saw what was happening based on what those roundtables that we executed were. So another one is HIRE, which is an acronym for honesty, integrity, respect, and education. And that goes not just to our clientele. It's back, really, it's internally. Everything starts internal, and then the truth is, like they say, it will come back to your clients. Process, which is to create, improve, and follow. And as an owner, I struggle, obviously. I understand the importance of process, but I'm a free spirit, and I like to go hard and fast, and that gets me into a lot of trouble. But I have to be held accountable to it.
Are you the visionary?
I'm the visionary,
Yeah, I guess so.
hardcore, yeah. And
same
then innovation. So it started as innovative design, but then we're like, no, really, it's just about innovation. I got a lot of creative people, right? If we're down and we got something we're up against it, I know that I got a group of people that will figure it out. They're not going to leave me in the middle of the night in a snowstorm, right? They're going to figure out how do we do it. If the machine is down, we're going to figure out how to get another one there or how to get it fixed. That's one of our unique abilities as a team internally, that our clients don't see. Because, things like snow removal that we do, all that kind of stuff where there's downtime or whatever, we have to mitigate that quickly. Because nobody wants to hear the excuses. It's easy to make excuses.
Yeah, you mentioned mindset as well, and I know what you mean when you say your mindset's different than the people that work for you. But I also believe that the stronger your mindset is, the more the people around you are going to see that and kind of rally. But what are the things that you do to keep that mind sharp?
Right. And I don't think,
Cause
I just want to preface it by saying, I don't think it's a bad thing that someone else's mindset isn't the same or different than mine. We have separate reality.
It should be a different mindset.
Right.
It's a different thing.
If we're all thinking the same thing, somebody's not thinking.
Yeah, but how do you? Because when we first met, you mentioned I was like, you're a psycho. Just I was like, I'm a psycho. You're like, I'm a psycho. I'm like, because you mentioned me, you do Ironmans and all this. Talk to me about when did you start doing that?
So I started on that journey in 2010. I probably weighed 3.25. I never really weighed myself at my max, but I've got photos and it's absurd. I look back now. So that's where it started. It just really started. I needed to get right with myself. Coach Bob's around here. I did a seminar with him through EO, about I Matter. And I was like, oh boy, I'm neglecting myself at what expense? And it's the expense of everybody around you.
And you're running a business at this time too.
Yeah,
right?
Running a business, so at the expense of my kids, at the expense of my marriage, at the expense of my friendships and my family and my people that work for me. They're relying on me. And if I'm not my best, right, this is where it starts for me. If I'm not at my best, how can I expect more from them? So it's changing and really kind of dialing in on that. And it started, for me, it was really, recovering addict, 31 years, clean. So it started with it was drugs, and then it became food, and then it became compulsive exercise. But I needed that release. I needed to find something for me that helped calm the storm, I like to call it, up in my head. As a visionary, they say you have 1,000 thoughts a minute. and most of them are brain farts, but what's real, what's not. So in order for me to get that, I had my mindset right. I found it in exercise, and the longer and the harder I would go, the more endurance type stuff really was what, for me, worked the best.
Do you go to like a dark place when you're running? Like, what is your mindset?
Well,
like,
I mean, there's always a dark place, right? There's the dark side. Like when you start
like
getting
yelling at
into
myself,
endurance, no, I find it freeing. Like we rode on Saturday with a group of people, and it was, it was a 50-mile ride or just short of 50 miles. And it's like when I'm out there, I don't have a phone. I have it just so my wife can track me, or if I got to make a call. But I'm just unplugged, right? So my mind is free. And I don't go dark at that point. When we go dark, it's usually because you're on a 100-mile ride and you get to a certain point, and inevitably you're going to hit it. Not every ride you're going to go dark, but we call it going dark because you're going to hit this zone and you're going to be like, oh, why am I doing this? Why am I out here? Maybe it's really, really windy, or it's raining, or maybe it's just hot, or maybe it's just you're off. Right? Not the right amount of sleep, not the right amount of caloric intake. It could be anything, and then you've got to work your way through it. So that's where the mind kicks in, right? How do I overcome this? Well, okay, I was in a race before, air temperature 98 degrees, heat index 115, and I'm like, I'm about to bonk. I've been taking intake salt all through the race. I got to keep hydrating. I've been doing that. I need to cool my body down. Stop at the aid station, get ice down my chest, ice on my helmet, ice down my back, threw away my water bottles that had like hydration mix in them for the last 15, 20 miles of the race. And I took water bottles in everywhere in my jersey and kept as many as I could. And I just kept dousing myself. And you could see my splits going up. So it's mindset. How do I take care of myself? How am I going to get through this? And here's a funny story. I had an employee come to me the other day trying to give me an analogy about if you were doing an Ironman and your bike broke down, would you be able to finish? And I'm like, fuck yeah. I would figure out a way to finish. I would ride on a flat tire if I had to, which isn't easy. I'd wait for someone to come help me. I would figure out a way. I'd walk.
That's the whole point, though.
The whole point is I was never going to win a race.
No, yeah.
It was only me against me. And then proving all the doubters, or as my daughter likes to say, the haters. If you got haters, I think you've arrived.
I'm going through, so I'm recovery background too, been sober 10 years. I was athletic when I was younger, but like I just started, my buddy actually texted me 45 days ago. He says, you want to do 75 hard? I'm like, what is that? So I look it up and I'm like, fuck, dude. And this is like one guy that do you know what 75 hard is? Yeah, it's insane. So, and I'm like, if this specific person, if I tell him yes, I'm accountable. Like I have to do it. So I thought about it for a couple hours and fuck it, yeah, man, I'll do it, And so I'm on day 43 right now, I think. But I'm just in the beginning of this like physical, whatever, exercise journey kind of.
But it's not just physical, right?
It's mental, dude. Yeah. And that's the shit. I'm reading, drinking water, working out. Like I ran 3 miles this morning. Like I'm not doing Ironmans, but my point is that like it's interesting to me. Like if I look back 5 weeks ago, I was like, this is insane, right? Like, how am I doing? Like I can't believe I'm even doing any of this. You know what I mean? But now it's like my baseline, which is like weird. So it's like I'm chilling the other day, and it's like the evening, and I'm like, dude, I didn't go do it because I'm like, I'm gonna go burn myself out. But I'm like, I just want to go exercise. I just want to go do something, and like it's been a big shift for me. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I'd love to get to that level where it's like, yo, I'm about to ride 50 miles. I'm just not. I mean, I probably could do it, but I gotta carve it out. Well, it's not
probably.
Yeah,
you could.
I could do it. Yeah.
Do you want to do it?
Yeah.
Or is it something else that gets you to that point?
I started doing it because of what you really said. It's like I need to optimize everything, right? Like if I'm gonna go where I want to go, I need to business is good. You need to optimize if you optimize your physical, right? It optimizes your mental. If you're sharper, you're gonna perform better. You're gonna get better results. You're gonna get things done quicker. Like I'm noticing all this stuff.
Right.
I wish I would have started doing this 10 years ago, to be honest with you. Like,
well, the key now is to continue. And like,
But I'm only
what's the
36.
longevity? So like, I just did a race. You asked. I did it 3 weeks ago. I had some unfinished business. I didn't finish the last full that I tried to do. I wasn't prepared, and now I'm like, okay, what's next for me? Because it's just too much on my knees just aren't there, and it's run its course for me. So now, like, how am I going to replace that? I think that's the biggest thing, because you do go through it. I'm not 19 anymore. My knees are hurting. What does that mean? So now I bought a weighted vest and I walk. Like, I did the half Ironman and I finished it. That was my goal. But I walked the entire half marathon, which, walking 13.1 miles isn't an easy task. Then add on that it was 88 degrees, and whatever the heat index was. So it's still the mental challenge. So how do I replace that? And now it's, lifting weights. I rode twice this weekend, still swimming, getting that out, lifting weights. I found, I'm really enjoying that, trying to get my flexibility back, because I've had tons of injuries over the past, 60 years of life. So trying to like get my flexibility back. So that's the advice that I would go back and give my younger self is, hey, you're flexible.
Stretch.
You're a 9-year-old.
That's what
You
Goggins
can
said,
flex.
too. Goggins, same thing. That's
Yeah,
what-
if you read his story, he got to a point where he
that his
thought
neck
he
and his
was
hips,
dying.
That he was dying, yeah.
Thought
And
he
then he
was
just started
dying.
stretching, and now he's fine.
And now, right. And I tried to do some of the stuff, and I'm like, I still am not there. I do Pilates once a week to try and work on that, and I think it's really great. So if I could tell myself one thing, go back and maintain your flexibility, because you'll thank yourself later.
I think one of the things I'm learning too is how to better prioritize my time, right? Just creating an actual schedule, prioritizing your time, getting the workouts in, getting the reading in, getting the drinking the water in, like making, and then still having time for my wife, my kids, my business, getting all my, and like my excuse before was like, I don't have time to do this. And like, that's absolutely not true. I was just scrolling my phone or not making it a priority. You know what I mean? And I'm still sleeping a lot too, which is great. Like, it's wild, dude. It's crazy how much of like a mind shift.
Right. But then that's the whole point, is everything evolves, right? So now I'm 61. Now we're trying to do these crazy like hikes. Like, what is that? So that we put together we're gonna cultivate a list of 25 of the most challenging and cool hikes. So now we can combine our love of travel with something that gives us that physical component
You guys
as
go
well.
to like Everest and stuff, or
I think that's on the list,
Yeah.
but maybe it's just a base camp. Like, what's
That's
also
still
within
badass, dude.
yeah. So we did one hike called Acatenango, which is in Guatemala, and this was during COVID. We flew in and out over a 3-day period. Like, flew out on Friday, had to get COVID testing Friday at the hotel. We had a doctor come and give it to us so we could return back to the company. Saturday morning, we woke up and we hiked. We had a trip company, hiked up, had our gear, carried our own packs. Some people had Sherpas. I mean, it's wild. These guys are in their jeans and their Adidas carrying people's packs and basically running up the mountain. And it was wild to watch. So just getting up and down, and it overlooked an active volcano. So that
awesome.
but those experiences with your friends, like, sitting out watching a volcano, way more exciting than watching your phone and watching mindless videos and reels. So you don't get to see that from sitting on your couch. So, like, what are some of the other experiences? Then we woke up at 4 a.m. to go to the top of the peak. So that was the first time I was up over 13,000 feet. So that's kind of like where I'm at right now. Like, how am I going to replace it? Because I need to stay sharp. Like, I don't have young kids, so my schedule is really easy compared to what yours is and what mine was. So, my kids are 22 and 20, going to be 28.
you play golf, or do you play golf or no?
I do. I not well,
No,
but
you get better.
I've
That's
played 3 times in the last 10 days. I'm playing Friday. So, but I love it,
I do too.
right? I enjoy it.
That's a mental.
Because then you're
challenge,
also
too.
out with people. It's a great opportunity to learn more about people or how you can connect with people and how you can, just get better because you hear other people's stories. And it's just like my clients, like, how did they get to where they're at, the level that they're at? And it's fascinating to me, like the human element.
So you said, how long you been in recovery?
1995, so 31, 32 years. Somewhere.
Congrats on that. That's really cool, man. So did you have the company when this was happening?
Yeah. Yeah, I started in '89.
Okay. So did something what was the reason you stopped? Like was it just
So I knew I had a problem. I said to my wife, I'm like, I can't go through a day. So for me, it's not like addiction. People will say, oh, well, that's not a problem. I was a pothead. Like, it doesn't mean that I didn't do other drugs. I don't compare my lows to your lows or someone else's lows because they're not the same. I met people, I did 90 meetings in 90 days, and I met people who they had destroyed their lives. They had destroyed their family relationships. They had no jobs. They reached real lows, and God bless them. I didn't get to that point, but my low was mine, and I owned it. There were days I would do things that, I just couldn't get comfortable with it. So for me, I was like, wake and bake, 12 joints a day. This is what I did. And so I realized, shit, I can't get through a day. I can't get through an hour. Like I need to be like high all the time. What is it? Why? Right? What is it? Why? For what I figured out was I could use it as an excuse, and I was maybe afraid of succeeding. And if I gave it my best, what would actually happen? So I had to put all that aside and figure out, oh my God, I have a support system. I have this business. I'm not achieving. Why am I not achieving what I should be? Why am I not where I thought I would be?
because you're smoking 12 joints a day, bro. Chill.
Right. So like you have to. It's my. Again, I had to own my 100%, and like there were days back. Remember I grew up in. I started. I was 10. I smoked my first joint. I was 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not normal, right? Normal. So
uncommon.
I was bartending for my older neighbors at the age of 11, making cocktails. And when I worked at a Baskin Robbins at the age of 13, they were bringing the alcohol up, and we were making them Hummers and Excaliburs. So go to bar mitzvahs, and I was the kid that I'd watch people go to the dance floor, and I'd go grab their drink, fresh drink off the table. I had strategies then that I employed throughout my life. So I was a little bit like, I was a curious kid. It didn't always evolve like in a good way, because taking apart your bike and understanding how to put it back together, that's productive. But figuring out patterns of when people get a fresh drink, and so you could get drunk and not that's a little off center.
My grandpa used to smoke Cool cigarettes, and they had this bar in their living Lake Orion, and they had a bar in the basement, and he'd like be smoking a cigarette, leave a lit cigarette. I'm like 8 years old, and I'd run up and be like I just wanted to
Right.
I'm just like curious. What is this thing? It's disgusting. I look back and I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Like,
Yeah, but it gave you a head rush if you
yeah,
smoked it.
for sure. Yeah.
So that was I was like,
I was
oh
just trying to
wow.
inhale the smoke,
So how do you replace that feeling?
Right.
Like how do you? And it took me till I was like, let's see, 2010. What was I? I was 45 before I figured out another way. And you said something about being athletic. As a kid, I played a lot of sports. I ran cross country for a couple years in high school, and then till I didn't. But getting back, the competitiveness, like even if it was just competing against myself, all that really is what finally satisfied that itch, and really kind of like pushed me to I feel where I'm at today. Like getting my mindset right, and it's endless, man. It doesn't, and you gotta every day you gotta like check yourself, because for me it's easy for me to get wrong.
Yeah, I used to be really involved in the program and stuff. And like when COVID happened, the world kind of fell apart a little bit in a way for all that kind of stuff, all like the meetings and all that. Mm-hmm. And I don't really go to meetings anymore, but I still, what I do is I just surround myself with healthy people, dude. You know what I mean? Right. People who know how to call me on my shit. I still contact people in recovery. You know what I mean? Like I called my sponsor. I still call my sponsor. His name's Mike. I called him 2 weeks ago, just talked for like half an hour. We're driving up north. Just, hey, dude, what's up? Checking in. I'm still good. You know what I mean? I mean, it's been 11 years almost, you know. But it's important, dude. You still need to stay around that herd. You know what I mean? Like if you start hanging out with the wrong people, it's very easy to fall back into those shitty habits. And it doesn't always mean drinking or getting high or whatever. It can just be becoming lazy, becoming complacent, like whatever, sleeping in too late, eating shit food. You know, like I notice like I can directly correlate a lot of the rest of my life with like my spiritual conditioning, my mental conditioning, my physical conditioning. You know, like there's a lot of negative byproducts if those things aren't in check. So,
right. That's why 75 Hard is interesting, and people talk about work-life balance. What is that really? I don't think it's about work-life balance. I think it's about your personal balance, right? Am I connecting with my spiritual part and my physical, my emotional, my physical and my health, right? Like how are you connecting with that? I actually got to the point where I had a sponsor and I realized really quickly, like my reality, he told me this. He's like, your reality is different than everybody in this room. You know, you still have your business. You got a family that's there to support you that you can talk to. Everybody in this room, not everybody, but many of us in this room, we alienated people. They don't want anything ever to do with us again. And he said, you have to figure out what works best for you. And so, you know, good for you that you figured that out. I don't think it's anything to be, it's just different for everybody. You know, there's no right or wrong answer. And that's part of the world I live in landscaping. It's subjective. I got one client that loves red, one client that loves white. I'm not planting red at my house. I don't care for the color, but you know, I'm good with white, good with orange. So go ahead and make your personal choices. But I think that's a big part of recovery in general is, you know, figuring out what works best for you and then sticking to it and holding yourself to be accountable for it. It is nice to have other people that will hold you accountable.
Just being honest. Something that I used to always have this reservation, like, it took me a few times to get sober. Like I started this when I was doing like hard drugs, and like I started getting clean when I was 18, so 18 years ago. And I went through I get 2 years, go out and drink, get a year, go out and drink, whatever. And this last time I got sober, I made it a conscious point that when people offer me a drink, to tell them I don't drink, and just tell them why, right? So and it's like a habit I've like picked up. Like I let people know that I'm in recovery. I don't care because it calls me on my bluff later in case I get weird. You know what I'm saying? So like I could be golfing with like a couple guys at the club. They go, you don't drink? I'm like, no, I haven't. I just literally like it's just a reflex. I'm like, no, I haven't drank in 10 years. They're like, really? Right. And I was like, yeah, dude, I don't drink. I'm in recovery. And it just comes out like that. And I used to be scared to say that to people because I thought they were gonna judge me. But I'm like, no, bro, I need to do this because it's like the best defense in the world.
Right.
Because then if they see me drinking, they should be like, yo, dude, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
Right.
So just getting honest with people. That's what I'm saying. Like
I tell people I'm a retired professional.
Yeah. Right. I'm allergic. I break out.
Because that breaks the conversation, and they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, I've been clean for 31 years."
Yeah.
I had no problem drinking. I was really good at it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's important. Right. I think letting people know there's that people want to judge, they're going to judge anyway. And the reality is they have so much of their own stuff going on. Right? Like, do you think they really care? They're going to leave and they're going to be like, oh, that's cool. He's somebody I could talk to if I ever have a problem. Exactly. Or maybe you help that person. That's why I think it's important to talk about it.
Yep.
You know, because why the type of drugs you used is I believe wholeheartedly is irrelevant because alcohol is legal to buy. Now marijuana is legal to buy. And I'm not saying people can't drink and people can't smoke and be fine. I'm saying I can't.
Yep.
That's all.
Same.
I think that's the most critical thing for everybody to understand. It's not like a contest. Oh, you did heroin, and so you're
100%.
You're a way better drug addict than I am. No, your reality definitely, I believe, you probably had a harder recovery than I ever did. But that doesn't make my recovery wasn't easy.
Alcohol caused me more issues than anything else, dude. Like it took me 10 more years to quit alcohol than it did everything else, which is wild. Like I think alcohol is the worst one because it's so readily available and so it's
for
sneaky.
me it wasn't.
For me, I'm saying
but that's the point.
Like for me, like dude, I'm bad on that shit. Like I get in my car, I drive, I fight. Like I'm disgusting. Like, but for you, it's not. That's what I'm saying. So everyone is different, you know.
Well, I mean, I had a guy, to be fully transparent, I was at a meeting, and this guy was like, well, what's your drug of choice? And I told him, and he's like, that's it? And I'm like, I'm like, but if you read the 12 steps, right, and you understand what it is, it's not about what you're using. That's just like the symptom. So I said, instead of responding and just simply saying, okay, well, that's your perspective, I'm fine, I reacted and said, what's yours? And he said, Coke. And I said, oh, well, I did Coke for 30 days straight, and I walked away from it. What's your fucking problem? So, like, that's reactionary. That's not really, it's not a healthy behavior. His reality was different than mine, that's all. Yeah. But, you don't learn that. It's a hard lesson to learn, like understanding other people's realities. I mean, I'm just trying to figure this all still. And I'm 61, right? I'm still trying to figure it all out. I still make mistakes and react instead of respond, and it's a journey, for sure, right? That you got to constantly be on to better improve, like morning routines. How do you get it all in? How do you get all these things you're doing in and still deliver to everyone? That's balance, right? It's not an easy. That's the hardest thing I think to achieve. And something may always be a little out of kilter, but the closer you are to that equilibrium, right, that's the sweet spot.
Well, you got anything coming up that you wanna plug? You got any events coming up, or anything you want to say about the business?
Yeah, we are hosting that event in August. I think that's going to be pretty cool. It's an opportunity for my team to shine. Right, I'm kind of really looking forward to that. I put them in a position to, I challenge them, for better or worse. But I think it's great. I think it's good for the organization. I think it's good for the team. I think it's good for the industry too.
And what was that event again? I'm sorry.
It's called the Summer Summit. It's just national conference for landscape contractors. And so there's a day, it'll be down in Detroit. It's through the community that my consultant created. And there will be anywhere from 200 to 400 companies. We're co-hosting with Troy Clogg.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So exposure for the team. And then, we're going to be discussing some of the stuff that makes us who we are as a company. So, being able to give back to an industry that's done a lot for me, my people, my family, and so I think that's pretty cool. And then we do an event in September. That's a connector kind of event. We're again giving back to the people that give to us as an organization. It started off for client appreciation, and then I'm like, wait, I need to show appreciation for the people that are referring me on a regular basis. And making us, being able to provide us with growth year over year. So we do that in September at our facility. So I'll keep you posted on that. That's cool, in September. Food truck, adult beverages, if they so desire. And then that seems to be an allure for most people. And then we do a bloom bar, which is you basically get to leave there with a bouquet, take it home to your significant other.
That's
just kind of like, yeah.
Go.
So we do it at like a happy hour. So we're looking to amp that up and then really connect people, right? Just connect good people. And I think right now that's critical because AI is great. There's creators. There's going to be consumers. But the key element is going to be the human element, right? Because there's still going to have to be that interaction between people. You can't take that away.
It's going to become the most
it's hot,
sought after skill.
It is
like communication,
sought after,
connecting,
period.
being able to connect with people, get them to move, get them to feel good.
The manual part, yeah, it's going to change. I mean, we're seeing autonomous mowers. You're seeing robotics. You're seeing, devices that are exoskeletal that help aid people. But I really do believe that you're going to have to be able to communicate. That's the hardest skill in life.
We agree. I don't know if it's the hardest skill. For some people.
I think
maybe it's a more rare
it's,
skill than I
I
give.
think it's hard to be good at. Well, I mean, I think I'm a pretty good communicator, and I still piss people off all the time.
True. Yeah,
I think daily.
Yeah.
So it's how, communicating the message. So in my mind, there's 15 things right now that I could list that I didn't tell you why I think it's so hard, right? Delivering the message in a humanistic way, making sure that I get the right amount of details, because I think I did. But I didn't give them the right amount of details. I didn't give them clarity. I didn't meet their level of expectation. There's so much that goes into it.
That's something I do a lot in my company is if we're in a level 10 or whatever, we're meeting as a team and somebody's explaining something. I'm like, wait, explain to me exactly. Like, I want to know exactly what you mean. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it might be something they say general. It's like, oh, we need to do this at a higher level or some shit like that. I'm like, hold on, stop. Just stop. Nobody knows what that means. So you're actually right. Because it can mean 100 things. You know what I mean? So.
It could. And then, we think everybody understands it, but you're like, wait, I'm a really verbal person. I tend, when I communicate, like, via Slack, we use Slack internally. That's where I tend to get myself into problems because I didn't fully form my thoughts, or I should wait and then respond later. So those are the things that I'm working on personally right now. Hard. I don't like to piss people off. It's really not my intention.
I feel bad when
I'm good at it though.
I know. Sometimes you just have to do it. You have to.
Right. It doesn't. I don't have to try. I seem to be pretty good at it. But I think overall, if that's all I did, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, I can.
And I'm okay with feedback.
I asked Holly's gonna be pissed at me for this. I asked her the other day. I said, it's our project manager. I said, what's one thing that I do that really pisses you off? She goes, when you completely shit on me. I'm like, whoa, what are you? Right. We're like really close. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, look at this text message, and I'm like, okay, I can see how you would think that, but I'm like, I don't mean that. You know what I mean? But it's
so you got to take a pause
before
you send it,
and
read it, and then you're like, oh no, it shouldn't send it.
Yeah.
I just have come to the point where sometimes I just won't. Now I need to get it down to like a higher 90 percentile, right? If you do that, then you're going to be better for them. Yeah. Like that's what you owe.
Or sometimes it's just it's got to be done verbally,
right?
Else it's just gonna.
Because then they can see the emotion. Otherwise, you got to interpret.
Yeah.
Something.
And you can.
In a text.
It's not even softening it. It's just giving complete context. Like, hey, what I'm about to say might sound fucked up, but it's not. Like, just look at it from my perspective or whatever.
Well, because where are they predisposed to? They're reading your words, and you could say
you don't know what they're doing either. Dude. They might have just gotten a shitty email from a customer,
right.
Or their husband's mad at them, or their wife, or whatever, and then they get this, and it's like another thing, and then you don't know where they're at.
The human component.
Yeah.
What's their home life like? What's their day like? What's their morning like?
Yeah.
Who shit on them?
She was like kind of laughing when she said it.
You got to watch for the human cues. That's the thing. When you're on Slack or email, you can't see the person's emotion. They could be having a really bad day.
I know.
But when you're with someone and it's live, that's why I prefer the verbal conversation.
Yeah, cool, dude. Thank you so much for coming on.
You bet.
Appreciate it, brother.
I do.
Anything else you want to share? Or?
No.
All right, cool, man.
I think everybody should just get out there. I love the
on
the hustle
for the event that you're doing in
September.
The August one. So
August.
Any landscape contractor can come to that. Is there?
Any contractor.
Like, how do they
come to it?
How do they find this event?
It's you can check our socials. We're posting constantly about it.
Okay.
Or go to Jeffrey Scott. His website.
Okay.
He's our consultant.
Cool.
I think particularly for any landscape contractor, the peer group is amazing. Like, I think any entrepreneurial person, we're in a world of our own where we want to have conversations, and sometimes it's better to not have them with our employees. It doesn't mean I don't. I'm pretty transparent with my employees, but at the same time, like, it's just different, right? Their perspective and their reality is different than mine. And so when you have people that are in the identical situation, it's amazing because it doesn't really matter if they're a $2 million company or a $25 million company. They have equipment, they have employees, they have challenges, they have HR people, they have, salespeople. What works, what doesn't work, what works for them. It's hugely impactful. So I was in EO, and then I joined this industry peer group, and I was straddling both until my EO group imploded, and now it's strictly this peer group. But I've built relationships with these guys and people, and we talk in smaller groups every other week. Then we meet every other month as a larger group. We meet twice a year live, and then there's these events. So, I mean, it's really, really hugely impactful, right? Like, there's no point in reinventing the wheel.
Also, it being so specific for your industry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I've done the non-specific with EO. I mean, I learned a lot from guys that, they sold their business for, 8 to 9 figures. I mean, that's, I'm not there yet.
My partner's in the EO. You probably know some of the same people.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool, man. Well, thanks
All right.
again, man.
You bet.
Appreciate you.
You bet.